Okay, world history. World history. We are back at it, but we're still in quarantine. We are still kind of in a stay in your house, don't mingle too much. So, kind of where we left off before spring break. Hopefully, everybody had a good spring break. My spring break wasn't the best spring break ever. It wasn't the worst spring break ever, but it was probably going to go down in the history book of the most unique spring break. Yeah, the most unique spring break. So, obviously, before we went on spring break, we all know the news kind of came out that we're officially done with face-to-face instruction. That's that's unfortunate that we won't be able to see each other in school and for our clubs and for our prom and stuff like that. But we're going to continue to go forward, and obviously, you guys know we're going to try to do the best we can to finish up the school year going online, teaching you guys, I guess you could say, virtually. So in a way, we're kind of ahead of the curve a little bit. We've been doing some of this stuff online for 3 weeks before spring break. So when the governor kind of came out and said, no more face-to-face instruction, continue your education online. Luckily here at Schoolcraft, we have some pretty good tools in our toolbox, no pun intended. And so we're able to kind of do some things online and kind of keep learning going. Obviously, it's not the same of being face to face, but we're going to do the best we can. So, what we're going to do here coming out of spring break is we're going to keep our normal flow, our normal transition. I'm not going to try to shake things up too quick here. So we've been kind of doing some work with TCI and creating new living documents or a Google slide or a Google presentation. And so our first week out of spring break, we're going to kind of continue that same flow, that same routine, just kind of keep, everybody kind of in check and, everything in good balance. And so I'll have on deck questions for you every morning. So you have something to do each day. I'll probably create a link on Thursday for you to turn your on decks in by the end of the week. So we'll continue with our on decks. As you can see in our Google Classroom, I've got this video of moi. That is me explaining what we're doing for the week, along with our questions regarding our next topic and some videos that kind of supplement the learning with TCI. So where we are, where we left off on spring break is, before I guess we went on quarantine, and during quarantine, we finally wrapped up World War II. And so that's kind of one of the areas where we left off, before we took off on spring break. And so now we're going to venture into the next era, kind of known as the Cold War. And so this is kind of where you get the two bullies. Yeah, the two big kids on the block are going to kind of go nose to nose. And that's obviously the United States of America and the Soviet Union. Yeah, Mother Russia. And so the Cold War kind of basically goes right after World War II. And so that's the area that we're going to be looking at next. So USA, USSR. What you see here at the end of World War II is you see a divided Europe. You don't see a united Europe. You basically have Western Europe and Eastern Europe. And there's a term that comes out and is called the Iron Curtain. Yeah, the Iron Curtain. And kind of how this Iron Curtain is dropped through Europe, kind of dividing it between West and East, democracy, blue, communist, red, on the East side. So we'll take a look at the Iron Curtain and the Iron Curtain speech. At the same time, what the United States is going to try to do here is avoid the mistakes of the Treaty of Versailles and try to avoid World War III. And, one of those areas was, we're not going to do reparations. We're going to try to punish the leaders, not necessarily the people of these countries, and, try to do a better job of repairing, rebuilding the infrastructure of these nations. And so you get introduced to the Truman Doctrine. To me, the Truman Doctrine is like JV. Yeah, it's like JV. The Truman Doctrine specifically is going to target to help two countries. And then we're going to go big. Yeah, then we're going to go big with the Marshall Plan. Yeah, the Marshall Plan. That's like varsity, baby. That's like varsity, where the Marshall Plan is like a blank check saying, hey, Europe, anybody want to hop on the train? Boom, hop on the train. The United States is going to help. Obviously, the Soviet Union, they're going to oppose the Truman Doctrine. They're going to definitely oppose the Marshall Plan. They'll probably come up with their own plan. And so it's kind of a way to kind of rebuild Europe, to try to avoid some of the mistakes that we made at the end of World War I. So we're going to jump a little bit from TCI chapter 28 to TCI chapter 29 because this Cold War for the most part took place in Europe. It took places in Asia, with like Korea and China. And so the United States, we always felt relatively safe, from communism and safe from like maybe a some type of a nuclear attack. That all changes in the early 1960s in this country called Cuba. Yeah, just 90 miles south of Florida, Cuba. And so Cuba kind of goes through a revolution where this guy by the name of Bautista, he was kind of a dictator. He was a bad dude, but he was loyal to the United States. The United States worked well with Bautista. Bautista allowed a lot of American companies to come in and establish infrastructure in Cuba. In other words, they were making money off of Cuba while the Cuban people pretty much stayed poor. But Bautista and his his cronies, I guess you could say, continue to stay rich. Well, eventually Bautista will be overrun by a guy by the name of Fidel Castro. Yeah, finally get to say the name Castro. It's been a long time. And so Castro takes over, and the United States doesn't like this idea because Castro wants to get rid of like the Western influence. He wants the Cuban people to run the American businesses, and then he becomes buddy with the Soviet Union. And so obviously now we have a communist country, enemy, call it whatever you want, just 90 miles south of Florida. And so, before all the communist countries, they were in Europe or they were in Asia, maybe South America, Central America, but nothing as close as Cuba, only 90 miles away. And so that will lead to this Bay of Pigs invasion. That's right, I just said Bay of Pigs invasion, and it's organized by the United States, and it was a failure. And so read on that. There's a video on that's really good too. And then we go nose to nose with the Cuban Missile Crisis. And so another video that kind of goes with that. So for the most part, things as you kind of read through TCI, we're just chunking it. We're not reading the whole thing. Just picked out some certain chunks, and I have that for you, pretty clear in the Word doc that's in our Google Classroom. So it's basically the Cold War. You got democracy, you got communism, you got the United States, you got the Soviet Union. Uncle Joe's going to be around for a little while, and then he'll pass on. And then we got the Iron Curtain. And so we got some good stuff coming up right here. Yeah, some really good stuff. So that's kind of where we are right now for world history. If there's any other major changes or updates, I'll probably post another video on our Google Classroom. But, if you have any questions, go ahead and email. I check my email frequently throughout the day. If you need a video chat, we can video chat, or we could Zoom. Everybody is Zooming now. It's like Zoom, Zoom, Zoom. Zoom is like the new favorite 4-letter word. Yeah, the new favorite 4-letter word, Zoom. You can always Zoom if you want. So that's kind of where we are. So we're back at it. We're going to make the best of it. Looking forward to this upcoming week. That's about it. So quarantine continues for a couple more weeks, and we'll see what happens. But get outside when you can. Run, bike, walk, play catch, run around. So that's it. World history, 2nd hour, 3rd hour, 5th hour, and my much loved 6th hour. I need to have you guys start turning in some stuff, man. Let's go. Peace.